So, hello everyone, welcome to this Global Village session where we are going to look at young people and how they are being involved in the fight against HIV and AIDS. We are from the Ghana country office of UNFPA, and we've had quite a few innovative sessions where we have looked at outreaches and targeting young people with HIV and AIDS. So we're going to talk about that in a short while. My name is Adjoa Nyantinyanyi. I am with UNFPA Ghana, like I said, and I'm the program analyst for adolescent sexual and reproductive health. I have two young ladies with me who are also going to do their own self-introductions.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Naa-Amy, and I'm a consultant assisting in programming in the country office of UNFPA Ghana.
Hi everyone, my name is Abigail Sapi. I'm also a consultant with the Adolescent Sexual Reproductive Health, assisting with programming as well.
Thank you very much, Abigail and Nami. So we are going to go straight and look at our presentation and share with you what we have for you today. All right, let's start our presentation now. Okay, thank you very much. So the title of what we have for you today is Young People Changing the HIV Narrative in Ghana and what we are doing in our corner. So we're going to go through an introduction, and then we are going to look at two different outreaches to one called a place called Old Fadama and the other to university campuses. So by way of introduction, WHO lets us know that there are about 30% of HIV infections among young people aged 15 to 25. And that's at the global level. When you come to the Africa level, we find out that AIDS is the leading cause of death among young people 10 to 24 years, with about 4,500 new HIV infections among those aged 15 years and older. Now, in Ghana, looking at all these statistics and following several studies, we realize that low condom use and multiple sexual partners contribute to spreading HIV and other STIs. So for the number of young people younger than 15 years who are becoming newly infected, according to the estimate and projection package in 2017, we have about 3,422 young people, which shows that right from an early stage, we need to start addressing the issues of HIV to be able to get any required or desired responses that we want. If we forget or we do not target young people, we are going to have issues. So in Ghana, the population is largely useful, and the HIV prevalence rate, according to our 2017 HIV Sentinel survey, among young people aged 15 to 24 has been about 2.7%. And we have seen this amount going up and coming down over the years, which indicates that it's still very unstable. We don't seem to have a steady decline. And as a result of that, it is important that we engage young people in the fight against HIV if we want to achieve the global 90-90-90 agenda. So at UNFPA Ghana, one of the innovative things we have, or the innovative programs we have, is the Yole Fellowship Program, which is the Youth Leaders Fellowship Program. It's the first of its kind within the UN system in Ghana. It was launched in November 2018 with a first cohort of 16 youth graduates from tertiary institutions in Ghana. So for the Youth Fellowship, they went through a very stringent selection process, and following which they came on board for a year at UNFPA Ghana country office. So what they do is we create opportunities within UNFPA Ghana for innovation, policy, and development programming and management, and build their capacity on such. We build their knowledge and experience and guide them to undertake community outreaches and interventions of various kinds, and also to support SRHR interventions, which include HIV awareness creation, testing and counseling services among young people. So for the outreaches that are normally undertaken by the Yole Fellows, we have marginalized communities which are targeted. And for the marginalized communities, some of the methods they have used have been pop-up or mobile clinics and direct community engagement. They have also reached out to students on university campuses using gamification and mobile clinics. Now you realize that depending on the focus or the category of young people that they have, the method of reaching them changes so that they are able to directly make an impact with that cohort of young people. So now I will hand over to Naa-Amy. Naa-Amy is going to talk in depth about their outreach programs, and this one is going to be to the Old Fadama. Over to you, Naa-Amy.
Okay, hello everyone. So just like she said, we had different targeted outreaches, and I'd like to take you through one we had in a marginalized community, Old Fadama. I'll take you through a character profile of our young 19-year-old Fatimata. Fatimata is actually a migrant from the northern part of Ghana. The northern part of Ghana includes the Upper East, the Upper West, and then different surrounding communities, yes. So Fatimata is actually living in Old Fadama. And like I mentioned, it's a slum community. And we have over 8,000 people living there in Old Fadama. These 80,000 people are from bordering nations. We have people from Togo, from Nigeria, from Mali. From different, these are just to mention some of the nationals, some of the foreign nationals, okay? And it's actually the largest illegal urban slum in Ghana currently. There's a prevalence of 5.5% HIV. So there's a 5.5 prevalence of HIV according to a 2012 survey. And we know that this is largely influenced by resident sex workers in the community and migrants. There's indiscriminate sex, there's unprotected sex, there are multiple sexual partners. There's so much going on in that community alone. And knowing that these people are people living from hand to mouth, these are people trying to make ends meet, healthcare and other social services in a community which is a slum is not easily accessible because it's not part of the government's radar of, set up communities, exactly. And during our interactions and our engagements, and even studies have shown that young people in these marginalized communities face a lot of social vices, not just young people, and maybe especially females, if I should put it. There's the issues of rape, there's defilement, there's teenage pregnancy, and you don't even have to hear it. When you just go there, you see so many young people with 14-year-olds with children. You have a 16-year-old who already has 2 kids. So you see a lot of this going on in the community right before your eyes. And if these people, like I said, are living from hand to mouth, we have a lot of people like Fatimata who are migrants and females from the northern part of Ghana who come to do something we call kayayi. They are called kayayi, if I should put it that way. They are female headquarters in the market. So they carry your wares, your market load, or everything you come to shop for on their heads for a fee. So we realized that if these people are living from hand to mouth, and if these people actually have an issue feeding themselves and their dependents, their children, these young people and their young children, exactly, meeting their health needs will definitely be a challenge. It is a challenge, not will be. It is actually a challenge. And then there are inadequate health facilities, and they definitely do not have the money to actually take care of their health needs, like I mentioned. And through different outreaches, community engagements, and from the field, and personally, through community work and volunteer work, I can actually confirm these observations over here on this slide that young people in marginalized communities prefer to have services brought to them. We know of the narrative of bad attitudes at health facilities. I mean, UNFPA is working at opening up more youth-friendly spaces, but then the canker of bad attitude of health personnel still lingers, and this actually deters young people from visiting these clinics. So just imagine, there's the issue of money and there's the issue of bad attitude. Already I do not have the money, so why should I make extra money and go and meet someone who will definitely not be nice to me and will not meet my needs, my information, and will not even, and will chastise me and judge me for the services I'm coming for? Because we have young people who are already scared of going for HIV testing to know their status, let alone go for CAP, which is comprehensive abortion care, or go for information concerning that. So you have so many vices being perpetrated there because they do not have access to healthcare. And we realize that they prefer to have these services brought to them. So if we can have these services taken to them in their communities and their comfort zones, and to have young people do it for young people is just ideal. And with our community engagements, we also realize that one-on-one engagement is rather more effective as compared to group engagement. So one-on-one, smaller groups, groups of two, groups of threes and fours, as compared to probably going into a community, setting up a space for testing, and then bringing everyone together, huddled up to have information and services delivered. People do not feel comfortable. People will not open up. Young people especially will not speak to address their problems. Okay, because we want to have that sense of privacy. We want to know that we can trust whoever we are speaking to. So one-on-one engagements, we realized was actually one effective way to engage with young people in the communities. So we used different methods in engaging these people when we went to Old Fadama. We used pop-up clinics, definitely. Other people might call them mobile clinics for on-site testing and counseling. And I must say, we had people who have been trained to do this HIV and testing. You see a young person, he's actually a fellow. He was part of the fellowship program, Derek, and he's been trained to assist with the testing. We utilize music and dance because we realize that music speaks to the soul of so many people. You don't necessarily have to understand the words, but the beats alone will let you be moving. I mean, you'll be moving to the beats, the sounds, and we had so many people drawn to the area also because of the music. So people are wondering what is going on. People are drawn to the atmosphere of young people around, young people speaking, young people dancing. So there was a very relaxed atmosphere. And one thing we really utilized, or one aspect we leveraged on, was partnerships. Like the SDG says, partnership for the goals. So we partnered with another youth group, and mind you, we were 16 young people, 16 people engaging 80,000 people, approximately 80,000 people, let's say 1,000 people. That's highly ineffective. That will be, in a way. So we realized that we need more young people. We need a higher number to reach even more people. So we partnered with the Youth Action Movement, which is the youth wing of Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana, PPAG. So we partnered with them, and as you can see in that third picture, we had a young person going into the community. We utilized direct community engagement, like I mentioned earlier, because we found it rather effective. So here he is with a mannequin of the penis, showing them how to rightly wear the condom, because one of the issues that also came up was the fact that young people do not really know how to wear the condom properly, and you even see a demonstration of it later on in this presentation. Yes, so partnering with other youth groups was really effective because we had more young people. We were able to reach a lot more people as compared to if we were just 16 or 20 plus, give or take, the program analysts and technical assistants we see from the office. And like I said, our innovative approaches young people were our frontliners. Young people did almost everything, from going into the communities, bringing them in, engaging with them. I mean, just our interaction with them encouraged more people to test. It gave them a sort of assurance that, I mean, my issues, I can trust you enough to address my issue. I can trust you enough because, I mean, you can relate to me on a certain level, because we are both young, even though we may be coming from different communities or different perspectives in life. But we are both young at heart, young as age, whichever one. But there was that sort of, we could relate. Yes, that was the most important fact. And as you can see in the pictures, we have young people engaging with the people seated there. We had another young person in the communities giving out flyers. You can actually see the joy and during the interaction and all that, you know. And because, like I said, we had so many young people, a safe space was created for the young people around, because we can relate, we can speak and address our issues. We have similar issues we are facing. So I can share that I am as scared as you, because we are the same age, or almost the same age. So I can understand where you're coming from if you should test positive. Does that mean your whole life comes to an end? No, because we have antiretroviral drugs. We have, I mean, there was so much information being given out, so much misconceptions being dispelled. And I must recognize that we had amazing assistance from the country office in terms of the technical assistance. Program analysts came over to engage the people, to dispel misconceptions, to address issues. All that it was an amazing time, honestly speaking, one of our most successful outreaches. And we must continue to recognize that partnership was key in this. And one thing we also did was that we combined hepatitis B, which is less stigmatized, to the HIV testing. So not only were we trying to allay the fears of people, but then we were trying to create an environment where, and if you are scared to have yourself tested for HIV, you can come out and have a hepatitis B. And many people who even came with the perception that, no, I'm not testing for HIV, ended up testing for both, because you are there and most people will be like, okay, as we engage, you realize that if I'm testing for Hep B, I might as well test for HIV, okay? And using rapid diagnostic tests really helped, the RDTs, because we had results within the shortest possible time. It wasn't now the drawing of blood and then taking it somewhere else to have it screened and analyzed. And for our outcomes, we were glad that over 250 people were tested that day. And we can say that, like I mentioned, it is a slum community located next to one of the most popular markets in the city, which is Adogloshi Market. Yes, it's a rather heavy name, but that is the name of the market, Adogloshi. And we recognize the fact that, like I said, we have most of those people in the slum being kayaye, also plying their wares in the market space and everything. And they start their work very early. So one strategy we utilized was that this particular outreach started very early in the morning. Okay, we set up early, we went into the communities early so that we can engage them at their convenience, so that as people are coming out of the community into the marketplace, they hear the music, they see the people around, they ask what is going on, we engage them. In a few minutes, they can have their test done. Do you understand? So in the space of a couple of hours, we've been able to not just give information, but have people tested. And it was good to recognize that we had over 800 people were reached out, with information and services. So we had these people we were giving out flyers, we're giving out contraceptives. I mean, we were giving out information as we went into the community and even on the site. So on the whole, we deemed this outreach rather successful, because our expected numbers were exceeded. We thought we might even reach just 500 people, looking at the fact that these people might not be ready to engage with us. But it was good to know that we had over 800 people who were engaged actively. And at this point, I'll just leave my colleague Abigail to take us through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Naa-Amy. Hello, everyone. So I will proceed with the outreaches that were done on university campuses. So we looked at 2 university campuses in the capital city of Accra, which was University of Ghana and the Nasford University College. Just to give a bit of background to what motivated us to have this outreach, we realized that in Ghana, the rates of new HIV infections was actually declining in the general population. But when you look at the numbers for the young people, there was quite an increase, especially in 2017. And so being a young person myself who has actually stayed on university campus for 4 years, I know that many young people there engage in risky sexual behavior, like multiple sexual partners, unprotected sex. And I also know that there's a lot of stigma associated with getting tested for HIV, with a mindset that, oh, should I test positive? That becomes an issue for the rest of my life. So sort of the attitude of what you don't know cannot harm you. But then in this case, what you don't know can actually harm you. Next slide, Nami. And so what we did was actually leverage on existing student celebrations. So we partnered with student leaders who were putting together what we call hall weeks, or in the case of the Nasford University, it was a health week celebration. So we partnered with these youth student leaders and we had a space allocated to us during these celebrations. And so we set up a tent among other tents from other vendors and other people who had also come to engage the young people. And so we had our own space. We branded it UNFPA. And then we focused on HIV prevention messages and also providing testing and counseling services. So the messages encompass basically abstinence is the best, condom use always, stay faithful to your partner, knowing your status is the best way to be protected. And this was what the messages we carried to them was all about. Next slide. So Naa-Amy mentioned some innovative approaches that were used for the Old Fadama outreach. Same here too, we used some innovative approaches, mainly because we were going to young people in their own space. And young people in Ghana, especially those on university campuses, are known to be quite conservative and do not really go out of their way to engage in things that do not interest them or things that they do not find worth their while. So what we did was to create a very, very open and interactive atmosphere. So we used games. We used a game where there are some questions with points attached to them, and each point comes with a particular souvenir. We also use pick and act, where you, instead of picking and acting, you pick a question and you're asked a question. And then if you're able to answer the question, you get a souvenir. We had souvenirs like branded backpacks from UNFPA, notepads. We had free condoms, we had publications, and we had t-shirts as well. And so these souvenirs really attracted the students. And the fact that there was also music and dancing by the volunteers themselves to attract the young people also actually helped. Also adjacent to this spread of games was a site set up for testing. We partnered with the Planned Parenthood Association of Ghana, PPAG, and their Youth Action Movement to get more volunteers on board and also to get qualified nurses to do the HIV testing using rapid diagnostic tests. So this was a whole setup, and we did it on 2 campuses, like I mentioned, on 2 different days. So on these days, we got like a high level of engagement from the young people. Next slide. Okay, so here in this slide is a video of a young girl, a young woman, should I say, at the Nasford University, who was trying her hand out on how to wear a condom, a male condom, on a mannequin of a penis. And the video should play soon, but while she was doing it, she made a few mistakes, and these mistakes were corrected by those of us who were interacting with her, and they were also those who were standing by observing her, who also learned from her experience. She was actually quite bold in stepping up and trying this and even allowing herself to be videoed, but we blocked her face just to protect her from any public onslaught. Anyway, but she did pretty well, though she made some mistakes, but we guided her through it, and it was a learning experience and it was very fun. And so you realize that the atmosphere was very, very interactive. You see me in the pink cap over there in one of the pictures, interacting with some gentlemen at the Nassau University. They were quite excited. I was handing them condoms, and some of them were pretending that they didn't want the condoms, and some actually were bold enough to come for the condoms. So you realize that there's still this reticence or stigma attached to being open about your sexuality and about issues of reproductive health. So we also had other volunteers, my colleagues, and then those from the Youth Action Movement who also engaging people in counseling, who were giving them information. Some were telling them about the work of UNFPA and what we're doing in the HIV space. Next slide. And so our outcomes from these two outreaches were that we reached over 300 students with information on HIV prevention and treatment. And I must say that this number was much higher, estimatedly over 500, because this number 300 were just those who were willing to put their names down. Like I mentioned, young people can be a little hesitant about certain things. And also we tested about 200 students for HIV. And I believe strongly that this number would have been much higher because one of our outreaches was interrupted by a really heavy downpour, so we had to pack up, unfortunately. But from the level of engagement that we're getting, we're really positive that we're going to get a lot of people tested, but that was cut short. But then the other outreach was very successful because at Nasford, it was a much smaller campus and a lot of the students who came were willing to get tested to the point that we even ran out of diagnostic kits and had to turn some of the students away or refer them to other places where they could get tested. So essentially, we created a safe space for the students and made it more easy for them to come and engage because we were young people interacting with young people. We were able to allay their fears because we could relate to where the fears were coming from. Sometimes I shared my personal experience of the level of fear I had when I was getting my HIV test done. And I explained that the counseling helped and that knowing my status has actually made me safer, and knowing their status will make them safer. So just having young people, engaging young people was actually very beneficial. We got a lot of positive feedback and actually calls from some of the student leaders to come back. But unfortunately with the COVID-19 situation, not much has been done this year, but we're hoping that when things get better and we're able to meet again and have these interventions, we can continue rolling out these outreaches on university campuses and reach more young people. So I'll be handing over to Ajwa, who will be concluding for us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Abigail, for that presentation. Thank you so much, Naa-Amy. I hope for everybody who has joined us today, you have learned something from what we have shared with you. How targeting young people means that you have to target young people, looking at their specificities, looking at their uniqueness, in order to ensure that the intervention you have planned for them reaches them as you want it. We had a young participant with smiles who said, this outreach is very important for me and the community as a whole. We feel protected knowing our status regarding STIs. Coming into the communities helps break the stigma about testing for HIV. For example, I know my HIV status now. And then we had some students who also said, today I learned that with antiretroviral treatment, persons living with HIV can live normal, healthy lives and even have babies who are negative. While another one said, I'm really glad I was able to get my test done today. Most of the time, you don't know where to go for such tests. So we do see that there is a need for continual education and continual information sharing to ensure that young people have the required and requisite information about HIV and AIDS, so that they can take the preventive steps to ensure that they do not acquire it. This has been the team from UNFPA Ghana for this session of the Global Village session. With me has been Naa-Amy and Abigail. And we want to say thank you very much for joining us. And we are available to take any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.